It was supposed to be a special day. Alyssa woke up on her 26th birthday with quiet hope that maybe this year would be different. She lay in bed staring at her phone, waiting for a message from her mom. The screen lit up again and again, friends from college sending cheerful emojis, a coworker posting a funny meme, even her old roommate calling to say, "Happy birthday, girl." But from her mom? Nothing. She scrolled through her text thread with Diane. The last message was weeks old, just a reminder about bringing dessert to a family dinner. Not a single "happy birthday, sweetie." Not even a call. Alyssa tried to brush it off, but her chest felt heavy. For years, her mom had promised to be more thoughtful, to stop letting dates slip by. Yet here they were again, forgotten. By noon, Alyssa sat at the edge of her bed, trying not to cry. She had worked so hard these past few years moving out, building a career in tech sales, even buying her first real luxury item, a sleek black Audi, the kind of car she used to only dream about. It sat downstairs in the parking lot, shining under the sunlight. She thought maybe, just maybe, celebrating herself would ease the sting. She went down, polished the hood with her hand, and snapped a photo. She uploaded it to Instagram with a quick caption, "Happy birthday to me party popper, #new car." It wasn't about showing off, it was about filling the silence. Maybe if she looked happy online, she could trick herself into feeling it inside. Within minutes, the likes poured in. Old classmates, coworkers, even her boss dropped comments like, "Wow, big moves," and "Congrats, queen." Alyssa smiled faintly. It felt nice to be noticed, even if it was by people on a screen. But then her phone rang. Her mom's name flashed across the display. Alyssa's heart lifted for a second. Maybe this was it, the long-overdue birthday wish. She answered quickly, forcing cheer into her voice. "Hi, Mom." There was no "happy birthday." No warmth. Just Diane's sharp tone on the other end. "I saw your post. We need to have a serious family meeting. Tonight." Alyssa froze. Her smile slipped away. "Mom, did you call about my birthday?" she asked, her voice small. Silence. Then her mother repeated, "Family meeting, 7 o'clock. Don't be late." The call ended just like that. Alyssa sat in her car, staring at the steering wheel, the sting sharper than ever. She couldn't help but wonder, why does her mother only notice her when there's money or status involved? Why did it take a shiny car for her to suddenly care? And deep inside, Alyssa knew this birthday was about to change everything. Alyssa grew up in a small 2-bedroom apartment with her mom and younger brother, Marcus. Her dad had left when she was little, so it was just the three of them. From the start, Alyssa noticed her mom treated her and Marcus differently. Diane often called Alyssa too independent, like it was a flaw, while praising Marcus for every little thing he did. When Alyssa was 10, she remembered coming home excited about winning a spelling bee. She carried the medal in her pocket all day, waiting to show her mom. But that night, Diane barely looked up from the couch. Instead, she was busy helping Marcus put together a science project that she practically did for him. Alyssa sat at the table quietly, the medal shining under the kitchen light, until she tucked it back into her backpack. Her birthdays were the hardest. There were years when Diane forgot completely, promising later that she had just been so busy. One year, Alyssa spent her 12th birthday eating leftover pizza while Diane and Marcus went out to a movie. Marcus came back bragging about the popcorn, and Alyssa lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, pretending she didn't care. The favoritism only grew clearer as they got older. Marcus got new sneakers, game consoles, and birthday parties with balloons and cousins invited over. Alyssa got books she hadn't asked for, sometimes nothing at all. If she complained, Diane's answer was always the same. "You're stronger than he is. You don't need as much." Those words stuck to her like glue, making her feel invisible, yet expected to carry herself without help. By high school, Alyssa had learned to depend on herself. She worked part-time at a diner, saving every tip in a jar while Diane handed Marcus money without him lifting a finger. When Alyssa asked once why Marcus got spending cash, Diane sighed and said, "Because he's a boy, Alyssa. He needs confidence. You'll be fine." It wasn't said cruelly, but it cut just as deep. College wasn't any easier. Alyssa earned scholarships and worked long shifts at a coffee shop, balancing books and bills, while Marcus got support at home. Diane even used part of Alyssa's small college fund to pay for Marcus's driving lessons, promising she'd replace it but never did. Alyssa never forgot the sting of that moment, how her mom chose Marcus's convenience over her future. Now, at 26, Alyssa had built something her younger self could be proud of. She worked in tech sales, a competitive field where she had climbed quickly through discipline and charm. She bought her own place, decorated simply but beautifully, and treated herself to the kind of things she once thought were impossible. The Audi parked outside wasn't just a car, it was proof that her hard work had paid off. Yet inside, Alyssa still carried the same ache. She had friends who admired her success, co-workers who respected her, even mentors who cheered her on. But when she closed the door at night, silence filled the space. No mother calling to check in. No sibling dropping by just to hang out. Marcus rarely spoke to her unless he needed something. When he did, it was usually about money, help with rent, a loan he never paid back, a small favor. Diane, meanwhile, only reached out when family gatherings needed Alyssa to bring food or when she heard about Alyssa's milestones through the grapevine. Love from them felt conditional, like it only showed up when Alyssa's achievements could be used, or when they needed her resources. Still, a part of her longed for their approval. She wanted her mom to say, "I'm proud of you." She wanted Marcus to treat her like a sister, not a wallet. She wanted to feel like she belonged to her own family. Instead, she poured her energy into her career, staying late at work and setting new goals. Her co-workers joked that she was married to her job, but none of them knew that her work was the only place she felt seen. The Audi was a symbol of that, shiny and impressive on the outside, but inside, Alyssa still felt the old emptiness. She was thriving in every way that could be measured on paper. But in the places that mattered most, the ones that filled the heart, she was starving. And now, with her mom suddenly demanding a family meeting after ignoring her birthday, Alyssa had the uneasy feeling that once again, their attention wasn't about her at all. Do you want me to lean more into Marcus's character flaws here, so his role feels sharper early on, or keep him in the background until the family meeting? The family meeting was set for 7, and Alyssa showed up on time, though her stomach twisted the whole drive over. She told herself maybe, just maybe, her mom wanted to surprise her with a late birthday dinner. Maybe she had misread the tone on the phone. But when she walked into her mom's living room, the air felt heavy, like she had stepped into a courtroom. Diane sat on the couch, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Marcus leaned against the wall with his phone in hand, smirking like he already knew something Alyssa didn't. There were no balloons, no cake, not even a happy birthday. Just tension. "Sit down," Diane said, her voice clipped. Alyssa sat, her purse on her lap. She waited for someone to speak, but it came fast and cold. "Where did you get the money for that car?" Diane asked. Alyssa blinked. "Excuse me?" "The Audi," Diane snapped. "Cars like that don't come cheap. You're 26. You expect me to believe you bought that all on your own?" For a moment, Alyssa couldn't breathe. She had hoped for congratulations, maybe even pride. Instead, suspicion filled the room. "I worked for it, Mom," Alyssa said carefully. "I saved. I've been in tech sales for years now. I closed a big account recently. I wanted to reward myself." But Diane only narrowed her eyes. "So you're saying you have that much money lying around? And you didn't think to mention it to your family?" Marcus finally chimed in, putting away his phone. "Look, Alyssa, it's not a bad thing you're doing well. But don't you think it's time you gave back? Mom carried us for years. I'm trying to get my business off the ground, and things have been tight. You have money now. Why not share?" Alyssa turned to him, her voice soft but shaking. "Marcus, this is my birthday. I thought maybe we'd—" Marcus cut her off with a laugh. "Oh, come on. Don't make this about feelings. We're talking about responsibility. You've made it. The least you could do is help the family. You don't want people thinking you're selfish, do you?" The word hit her like a slap. Selfish. The same word her mom had thrown at her so many times growing up. Alyssa looked at Diane, hoping for defense, but her mom nodded in agreement. "He's right. Family comes first. That car is flashy, Alyssa. Instead of wasting money on appearances, you could have helped your brother. Or even me. You know bills don't pay themselves." Her chest burned. "So that's what this is? This isn't about my birthday. It's about my bank account." Neither of them answered. The silence was louder than words. Alyssa stood, her hands trembling. She had dreamed of this moment going differently. Her mom hugging her, Marcus cracking a joke about letting him drive the Audi. Instead, all she saw were hungry eyes, sizing her up, calculating what she owed them. She realized then that nothing had changed. Her birthday didn't matter. Her happiness didn't matter. The only time her family showed up was when there was something in it for them. And that truth cut deeper than anything else. The night of the family meeting stayed with Alyssa like a bruise. She drove home in silence, the glow of her Audi's dashboard offering no comfort. The car had been her reward for years of hard work, but now it felt like a crime in her family's eyes. She kept replaying her mom's voice, sharp, suspicious, demanding, and Marcus's smirk as he spoke about her responsibility. It made her stomach turn. In the days that followed, things only got worse. Alyssa noticed fewer calls from relatives who usually checked in. A cousin who used to chat with her on social media suddenly ignored her messages. Finally, her aunt let it slip during a phone call. "Diane says you've changed, Alyssa. She says you're arrogant now. That car has gone to your head." Alyssa felt her throat close. Her mom wasn't just disappointed, she was poisoning the family against her. "She really said that?" Alyssa asked. Her aunt sighed. "She says you forgot where you came from, that you only care about showing off." I told her maybe she misunderstood, but her voice trailed off. Alyssa hung up and sat on the edge of her bed, gripping her knees. It was like a script she had seen before. Growing up, whenever Alyssa stood her ground, Diane told the family she was too difficult or too proud. Marcus, on the other hand, could make mistakes, and Diane would rush to cover for him. Now, as adults, nothing had changed, only the stakes were higher. Marcus wasted no time in reaching out after the meeting. He texted first, then called, then showed up at her place uninvited. "I'm not asking for charity," he said one evening, pacing in her living room. "I just need an investment. My shop is struggling right now, but with some cash, I can turn it around. You'll even get a return." Alyssa folded her arms. "Marcus, you've asked for money before. You never paid me back." "That was different," he argued. "This is business. You can't just sit there in your fancy car and let your family drown. What kind of sister does that?" The words stung because they echoed what her mother had said. Still, Alyssa shook her head. "I worked 2 jobs in college while Mom helped you. Do you remember that? I was closing at the coffee shop at midnight, then waking up at 6 for classes while she was covering your bills. I didn't get help. I fought for every dollar I have now. So don't stand here and call me heartless." Marcus rolled his eyes. "You've always had a chip on your shoulder. You think money makes you better than us. But guess what? Without family, money doesn't mean anything." He stormed out, slamming the door. Alyssa sat there, trembling with anger and sadness. Why was it always like this? Why did their love come with strings? She thought about cutting ties, blocking their numbers, and walking away for good. But the thought filled her with guilt. Was it cruel to abandon her family, no matter how toxic they were? What if one day they needed her in a real emergency? She went back and forth, torn between protecting her peace and holding on to hope. Her answer came during a Sunday dinner a few weeks later. Alyssa agreed to attend, thinking maybe things would cool down. She brought a bottle of wine, dressed neatly, and tried to smile as she sat at the long table with her mom, Marcus, and a few cousins. For a while, the conversation was normal. Then, out of nowhere, Diane turned to her. "You know," Diane said loudly, her fork clinking against her plate, "Alyssa has been acting very selfish lately. She's forgotten who raised her. She buys luxury cars, but doesn't think twice about helping her own brother." The table went quiet. All eyes turned to Alyssa. Her cheeks burned hot, her hands gripping the edge of her chair. She opened her mouth to speak, but Diane kept going. "Family is about sacrifice," her mother continued, her voice sharp. "But Alyssa only cares about herself. She thinks she's too good for us now. Maybe success made her cold." A cousin shifted uncomfortably. Marcus leaned back, arms crossed, looking satisfied. Alyssa's chest tightened. The humiliation was heavy, pressing down on her. She had come here hoping for peace, and instead her mother had turned the whole dinner into a stage for guilt and shame. She wanted to scream, to tell them all what really happened, that Diane had stolen her college fund for Marcus, that she had been forgotten time after time while Marcus was spoiled. But the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she sat in silence, the sting of betrayal burning deeper than ever. And for the first time, Alyssa realized the Sunday dinner was supposed to end quietly, but Alyssa couldn't hold it in any longer. Her mother's words kept echoing around the table. Selfish, arrogant, cold. She felt something snap inside her, a crack that had been building for years. She put down her fork and looked straight at Diane. "Enough," Alyssa said, her voice shaking but loud. "I'm tired of sitting here and letting you drag me through the dirt. You want to talk about selfish? Let's talk." The table froze. Marcus raised his eyebrows, smirking like he was waiting for a show. Diane's face tightened. "Don't you dare raise your voice at me," she warned. But Alyssa didn't stop. The words poured out of her like a flood. "You used my college fund for Marcus. Do you remember that? You told me it was for the good of the family. I worked 2 jobs to make it through school while you handed him everything. And you never even apologized." Diane's face went pale. She glanced around the table, embarrassed, but Alyssa pressed on. "When I was in high school and couldn't get out of bed because I was so depressed, you told me to stop being dramatic. Do you know how small that made me feel? Do you know how close I was to giving up?" The room was silent except for Alyssa's voice, trembling with anger and pain. "And now, the only time you call me is when there's money involved. Not when I'm sick. Not on my birthdays. Not when I needed you most. Only when you want something from me." Her cousins shifted in their seats, eyes darting between Alyssa and Diane. No one dared interrupt. Diane slammed her hand on the table. "How dare you shame me in front of family? After everything I've done for you?" Alyssa leaned forward, her eyes burning. "Everything you've done? You didn't raise me out of love. You raised me out of obligation. And Marcus," she turned to him, "you sit there and act like I owe you. But tell the truth, Marcus. Isn't this whole thing your idea?" Marcus's smirk faded. "What are you talking about? You asked Mom to set up that family meeting, didn't you?" Alyssa said. "Because your business is falling apart. Because you're drowning in debt and needed me to bail you out. That's why this all started. It wasn't about family. It was a setup." The silence was deafening. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. His face turned red. One of the cousins whispered, "Is that true?" Diane's lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes flicking toward Marcus before looking back at Alyssa. That tiny hesitation was all Alyssa needed to know she was right. Marcus pushed his chair back, his voice rising. "So, what if I did? Family helps each other. You have money, I don't. You're supposed to share." Alyssa shook her head slowly. "No. Family loves, without conditions. Family doesn't guilt you into giving, or tear you down when you succeed. Family doesn't set traps to make you feel like a villain just because you finally have something for yourself." Her chest rose and fell quickly. Tears burned her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. For the first time in her life, she wasn't swallowing her pain. She was speaking it, sharp and clear. Diane tried to regain control. "Alyssa, sit down. You're making a scene." But Alyssa stood. "No, Mom. You made a scene the moment you decided my worth was measured by what I could give you. I am not your ATM. I am not Marcus's safety net. I am your daughter, and all I ever wanted was your love. But I finally understand. You only know how to take." The table was stunned. No one moved. No one spoke. Even Marcus sat frozen, his mouth half open, as if Alyssa had pulled the mask off everything he had been hiding. For years, Alyssa had carried the weight of silence, believing that if she just endured, things would get better. But now the truth was out, hanging heavy in the air. It wasn't about her birthday. It wasn't about the car. It had never been about her happiness at all. It was about what she could give, what they could take. And Alyssa realized with painful clarity that she had been nothing more than a convenience to them. That night, as she walked out of the house and into the cool air, her chest felt lighter, even though her heart ached. For the first time, she wasn't the quiet, obedient daughter anymore. Alyssa didn't sleep much after that Sunday dinner. Her words kept echoing in her head, but instead of regret, she felt something new, relief. For the first time, she had said everything she had been holding in for years. She had ripped the mask off her mother's favoritism, Marcus's entitlement, and her own silence. And though it hurt, it also felt freeing. The next morning, Marcus sent her a string of texts. "We need to talk. Don't ruin the family over money. You're better than this. Just help me out this once." Alyssa read them and put her phone down. She didn't reply. Later, her mom called, leaving a voicemail filled with guilt. Diane's voice cracked as she said, "No matter what, family is family. You can't turn your back on us. You'll regret it. Alyssa listened once, then deleted it. She realized those words were weapons, not comfort. They were meant to pull her back into the same cycle of guilt and giving. For years, she had been desperate for her mother's approval, hungry for scraps of affection. But now she saw it clearly. Diane's love came with conditions, and Alyssa was done paying the price. That week, instead of hiding, Alyssa reached out to her friends. She invited a small group over to her apartment on Friday night. She ordered a cake with her own name on it. "Happy birthday, Alyssa." And when she picked it up from the bakery, she felt a lump rise in her throat. No one had ever bought her a cake just for her, so she did it herself. Her friends showed up with balloons, laughter, and hugs. They toasted to her new car, to her hard work, to her future. The apartment filled with warmth and chatter, the kind she had always dreamed of at home but never got. And as Alyssa blew out the candles on her cake, she didn't make a wish. She didn't need to. She finally understood. She could give herself what her family never had: love, respect, and care. Later that night, sitting with her friends around the table, Alyssa realized something else. Blood didn't guarantee loyalty. Titles like mother and brother didn't automatically mean unconditional love. Family wasn't about obligation or guilt, it was about choice. And she finally chose herself. From that day forward, Alyssa stopped waiting for her mom's calls. She stopped checking to see if Marcus would reach out with a kind word instead of a demand. Instead, she poured her time into the people who celebrated her wins without envy, who comforted her lows without judgment. Slowly, the emptiness inside her began to heal. When she looked out at her Audi parked under the streetlight, she no longer saw it as proof for anyone else. It wasn't about showing her mother she had succeeded or making Marcus jealous. It was her reminder of resilience, the life she had built when no one believed in her. For years, Alyssa had begged for love that never came. Now she knew she didn't need to beg. Weeks passed, and Alyssa's phone buzzed one evening with a message from her mom. It was short. "Family isn't about money." Alyssa stared at it for a while. There was a time when those words would have broken her, when she would have rushed to call back, to defend herself, to beg for love. But now, the message felt empty. She set her phone down without replying. Later that night, Alyssa grabbed her keys and went for a drive. The city lights blurred past her window as her Audi moved smoothly down the road. She rolled the windows down, letting the cool air wash over her face. For the first time in her life, she felt light, not because of the car, not because of success, but because she wasn't carrying the weight of other people's expectations anymore. She thought of her friends, of the cake with her name on it, of the laughter in her apartment that had filled the empty spaces her family had left. That was love. That was home. As she drove, a small smile spread across her face. She realized she didn't need her mother's approval, her brother's validation, or anyone else's acceptance to know her worth. She had built her own life, and she was finally proud of it. Sometimes, family isn't the people who share your blood. Sometimes, it's the ones who choose you, who see you, who celebrate you without asking for anything in return. Alyssa had found that truth the hard way, but now it was hers to keep. And with that thought, she pressed her foot gently on the gas, letting the road open wide in front of her, carrying her into a future that finally belonged to her. Hey besties! Thanks for sticking with me till the end of this story. Imagine your mom forgetting your birthday, but the moment she sees your new car, she calls a family meeting, not to celebrate you, but to ask for money.
Painful, right?
But sometimes walking away is the real gift. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.
Bye.